Hello, 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 foodies. All right, I'm a teacher and I've taught in this district, and I'm going to say something that might put me on both sides of this Darius Cooks debate. I believe him about the reading problem, but I also think 2 days of the classroom is way too soon to get online and make a viral video about your students.
That they couldn't do it. Our young black men, our young brown men, our young black girls, and our young brown girls.
Because here's the part everybody who's suddenly shocked by this story needs to understand. Teachers have been telling people for years that we have students coming into our classrooms reading far below grade level. This does not start with Darius Cooks, and it definitely didn't start this school year. If you haven't seen the video, Darius is teaching seniors at Wheatley High School in Houston. On the second day of school, he posted an emotional video saying he gave his students what he described as a very basic reading and writing assignment. According to Darius, some of his 17 and 18-year-old students struggled to complete it, even after he walked them through the question and possible responses, and he became emotional talking about it. The video went viral, and now people are having a much bigger conversation about whether students are graduating from high school without being able to read and write at the level they should. And that conversation absolutely needs to happen. But I think there are actually two different conversations here. Darius has a point. First, let's talk about what I think Darius got right. The literacy problem is real. And as teachers, we've been talking about students entering middle and high school reading several grades behind for a very long time. And teachers can't simply stop teaching their assigned grade level curriculum and go all the way back to elementary reading instruction every time a student comes into the classroom with major gaps. We have standards we're required to teach. We have testing. We have curriculum requirements. We have deadlines. And at the same time, we're expected to somehow close academic gaps that may have developed over years. So when I watched Darius become emotional about what he saw, the literacy issue itself didn't shock me. What shocked me was how shocked everybody else seemed to be. Where has this outrage been? Teachers have been saying this. We've been telling parents, we've been telling administrators, we've been looking at the test scores, we've been sitting in meetings talking about intervention and students reading below grade level. Now, somebody with a large social media platform says it, and suddenly everybody wants to talk about the literacy crisis. So if his video gets people to finally pay attention to the problem, I think there's value in that. But here's where I disagree. Here's where Darius loses me a little bit. It was day 2. As an educator, I don't think you've been with those students long enough to completely understand what you're looking at. You don't know all their educational histories yet. You don't know which students have learning disabilities. You don't know which students have accommodations. You don't know who has test anxiety. You don't know who may be embarrassed to perform academically in front of classmates. And you haven't had enough time to establish the kind of teacher-student relationship that can completely change how a child performs in your classroom. That's why I personally would not have gotten online after 2 days and publicly characterized my students based on one assignment. I wouldn't have gotten on there, period. First day, middle of the year, last day, period. Even without saying their names or showing their faces, they know you're talking about them. Their parents know, their classmates know, and now millions of strangers know. And this is where the story gets even more interesting. A former Wheatley teacher named Tracy Wade Toussaint responded to Darius, and she says she actually taught many of these same students for 2 years in English 1 and English 2. And she's pushing back on the picture being painted of these kids. According to her, these are some of the strongest readers and writers she's seen come through Wheatley in quite some time. She also says some of these students have taken AP seminar and some went on to take English courses through Houston Community College. So now I have questions, because if students who have successfully completed those types of courses suddenly can't complete a basic 4-word writing exercise, I want to know what happened with that particular assignment. Was it every student? Was it several students? Were the instructions understood? Was this a reading problem, a writing problem, a comprehension problem, or were we looking at one assignment on the second day of school and drawing a much bigger conclusion from it? And that is exactly why I said earlier that 2 days isn't enough time. This former teacher spent years with some of these students. Darius had spent 2 days with them when he made that video.
I don't know. I simply don't know. where the problem is. This is only day 2. And I have seniors who simply cannot read and seniors who cannot write.
And that doesn't automatically mean Darius didn't see what he says he saw. I wasn't in his classroom, and neither were most of us watching this online. But her perspective matters too. And she made another point that really stood out to me as an educator. These students need teachers who believe in them, hold them accountable, push them, and build relationships with them. I agree with that, because imagine being 17 years old, going to school on Wednesday, and then opening Instagram that night and seeing your teacher's video going viral because he's telling millions of people that seniors in his classroom can't read or write. Even if he never says your name, you know he's talking about your class. And that's where my concern has been from the beginning. The literacy crisis is real. Students being below grade level is real. But these individual students also deserve the opportunity to walk into a new teacher's classroom and be taught before they're turned into an example of everything that's wrong with public education. And I think we have to be able to say both things at the same time. Now, I've seen people say, but he didn't identify the students. That's true. I've seen people say, at least he's bringing attention to the problem. I agree with that too. And I've seen people essentially say, why are people mad at the teacher instead of being mad that seniors allegedly can't read? And I understand that argument. That's why I don't think this is as simple as Darius good or Darius bad. You can believe that the literacy crisis deserves national attention and believe educators have a responsibility to be careful about how they discuss their students publicly. Both things can be true. And there's another problem. I don't want people watching this story and walking away thinking, look at what these teachers did to these kids. A 17-year-old student's reading ability wasn't created by the teacher they met 2 days ago. And it's probably not the fault of one they had last year either. We're talking about a system involving years of schooling, attendance, intervention, curriculum, testing, staffing, resources, family involvement, learning differences, COVID era, disruptions, and many other factors. And here's something else people need to understand. Teachers don't fix all of that alone. You can put the best teacher in America in a classroom, but if a student arrives significantly below grade level, closing a gap that develops over many years takes time and resources and specialized intervention. So here's where I ultimately land. Darius may have started an important conversation. If this viral video makes parents ask more questions about their children's reading levels, that's good. If it makes districts invest more heavily in literacy intervention, that's good. If it makes people finally listen to teachers who've been sounding the alarm, that's really good. But I also hope Darius remembers something now that he's on the other side of the desk. Your students aren't content first. They're students first. Give them some time, build relationships with them, figure out exactly where their gaps are, teach them. And then let's talk about what worked and what didn't, because I would love to see the follow-up video months from now saying, remember those students I was worried about on day 2? Look at them now. To me, that would be the real story. But I want to know what y'all think, because people are really divided on this one. Was Darius right to make the video because somebody needed to expose how serious the literacy problem has become? Or do you think that as a new teacher, he should have given students more time before discussing their struggles publicly? And especially if you're a teacher, parent, or educator, I want to hear from you, because there's a much bigger conversation underneath this viral video. How did we get here? And what are we actually going to do to help these kids? And lastly, congratulations to Wheatley High School, the school where Darius Cooks teaches, for achieving an A rating. They are an A-rated campus now, y'all. Now, what that means exactly, I don't know. Thanks for watching. Make sure you like, comment, share, and subscribe, and hit the notification button so you don't miss any of my videos. Bye.